right, we're back with part 3 of our genetics slides, and here we're going to talk a little bit about chromosomes. So, independent assortment, we kind of had segregation before. Independent assortment is very similar. It's important when you have two-factor crosses, which we haven't done, but it just means that some of these factors travel together. You can think of it that way. We now know that, of course, the chromosome theory of inheritance, so we're adding chromosomes in here. We know that DNA now, that we're adding this to our theories, the genes are found on chromosomes, and chromosomes are replicated and passed from parent to offspring. So we have to add this to Mendel's theory. And, of course, this is going to explain Mendel's law of segregation. Now, the nucleus of the diploid cell, so diploid, here is a term you may not have seen yet. Diploid means that cell has two sets of chromosomes. It says it right here, two sets of chromosomes. All right. So diploid is a regular cell in your body. Now, in fact, we call them, the chromosomes in those cells we call homologous pairs. Homologous, you need to know that term. It means similar, does the same thing, maybe looks the same, but they're not identical. So in other words, we have two chromosomes, one from mom and one from dad. And those make up the homologous pairs of chromosomes. Now those two chromosomes have the same genes at the same location, same loci on the chromosome, but they may be different. One's a big A, the other one has a little a. All right, there have been some mutations in there, so mom is not just like dad and vice versa. All right, so the idea here is that you have homologous pairs. It means they have the same genes, but the genes are not quite the same. They have different alleles. So keep this in mind as you move through here. Now, the chromosome theory of inheritance adds in the chromosomes to kind of Mendel's law or Mendel's theories. And we, of course, have talked about meiosis in the labs, so you'll need to make sure you understand what's going on in meiosis, especially where the chromosomes go. All right, so the chromosomes segregate into different daughter cells, and so you end up with only one set of chromosomes in each gamete, so sperm or egg. So when you create sperm or egg, you're going to create daughter cells that only have one set of chromosomes. Now, they are haploid. So remember up here we had this term diploid. Diploid means you have two sets of chromosomes. Haploid means you only have one set of chromosomes. So gametes, sperm and egg, are haploid. They only have one set of chromosomes. And so, of course, they're going to come together to form like the offspring, the child, because they have half, they're going to combine, and the child will end up being diploid, because you added two haploid cells together. That's the fertilization of the egg by the sperm. Now, chromosomes and segregation. So the Mendel's law, we've already gone over it, but you mix that with the idea of the segregation of homologous chromosomes during meiosis, and you've got your theory explaining how these crosses work. So here, this one doesn't quite show up completely, but what we're seeing here are two chromosomes, one from mom and one from dad. The little red one there is from the other parent, and you can see that T is the tall allele, big T, and they're on both chromosomes at the same location or locus. Okay, here we have that term, gene locus. All right, so that is the site where that gene is found. As far as meiosis 1 and segregation, you're going to need to know the general steps. What was it I said in one other video? PMAT and then usually some other letter. Use those. So prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase, and then use some other term depending on which concept you're using or which book. But the idea is you will need to know the meiosis 1, meiosis 2, and eventually mitosis. But for now, we'll just stick here, and basically you need to refer back to the labs for this one. Hopefully you learned this in high school. All right, In the book 1710, just a general idea of what's going on, so that you can understand how everything segregates and gets down. So one of these diploid cells actually forms ultimately 4 gametes here. So keep that in mind. All right. The chromosomes in independent assortment. So you have this law. So here is a nice law to remember. And maybe a multiple choice question or something on that law. I'm not going to ask you to state that law. Let's see. Yeah, just kind of generally know that law. And here we go, another picture at 1711. So keep this idea. Try to figure out what's going on here in these pictures. I probably won't ask you to draw this. In the past, I have, but I'm not thinking. I'm not planning on that. If I do, I'll tell you. But I do want you to know the terms. I want you to know how this relates back to Mendel's laws of segregation. So you have to know this a little bit to be able to explain how the physical things inside the cells, the chromosomes, that actually cause Mendel's law to be true. In other words, I want you to relate this physical thing to Mendel's theoretical concepts. All right, and that's it for the second, I guess this is the third set of slides.